Radio check, loud and clear. Thank you everyone for tuning in and welcome along to the coverage here in the beautiful Budapest. We are 30 minutes away from the start of Free Practice 2. We had a fairly uneventful Free Practice 1, with the only retirement really being Paul Aaron after having some electrical issues with his car. Gabriel Bortoletto also suffered some issues late on in the session and didn't manage to complete as many laps as everyone else. But apart from that, all of the other teams seemed fairly happy. One exception to that could have been Max Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda. Not a lot of pace shown from them. Max Verstappen 8/10 off Lando Norris this time. Not even 8, 9/10 off, to be honest. A long way back was he in FP1. Maybe FP2 things will change. They will have worked on the setup in between sessions and got some things worked out. And that should close up the gap, but yeah, not a great start to the session. Will Alonso take part? Indeed he will. Alonso had anyone that wasn't listening for FP1, Alonso had a injury to his back. One of his muscles in his back was giving him a lot of pain, and yeah, whatever issues he was having, whatever pain he was having, that has all gone away now. The FIA have medically cleared him to take part in FP2, and yeah, he'll be taking part alongside Lance Stroll. So Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll will be back, and Felipe Drogovic will be once again returning to his reserve driver role. And yeah, and Nico Hülkenberg will be taking Paul Aaron's spot in the drivers' championship, in FP2, and yeah, we'll have just your normal 20 drivers really. In the short term, he's getting old. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really heard of a back injury before. You know, we've heard of wrist injuries from drivers, you know, holding onto the steering wheel when crashing, and that transmits a lot of force through the wrists and stuff like that. And we've seen appendicitis a little bit too frequently, shall I say, in the Formula One field. But apart from that, it's been pretty smooth sailing for all of the drivers. But yeah, first injury-related missing of a session that we've seen in a while. You know, some drivers have felt sick, food poisoning and such, but an injury, slightly different. So yeah, good to have Fernando Alonso back, and we'll see how he fares. But of course, you know, he is still a very high performance athlete, as Daniel Ricciardo would say, and he trains really hard. In fact, harder than maybe some of the other drivers, because he's already fairly old, so he's got to compensate for that with extra training. So yeah, I'm sure he'll be able to cope, though. Another race where Racing Bulls will out-qualify Red Bull? Potentially. I mean, Isaac Hadjar is certainly doing a fantastic job. I don't know much about Liam Lawson, but Hadjar has been performing outstandingly, and I can't really see things getting much worse for him. He has a great feel for the car. Things aren't. He's not got too much pressure on him. The only thing that could send demote Isaac Hadjar would essentially be promoting him up to the Red Bull team. Would, in a sense, be a demotion for him, because he is just so confident in that Racing Bull that putting him into the Red Bull seat would be very, very bad. Okay. Love that you continue up with your game. Small little things as pronouncing Leclerc properly, unlike some of the official F1 guys when they refuse to say Giovinazzi even when prompted on air. Yeah, well, thank you for letting me know, and yeah, I do my best, of course. It's a pretty simple thing, pronouncing people's names correctly, so shouldn't be too difficult. What else really happened in FP1? Not too much. We did have a mix of medium tyres and hard tyres, because the teams are still considering which tyres to use and which tyres to use in which conditions, because, yeah, as you can see there on the right hand side of the screen, we can see the weather forecast, and it says moderate thunderstorm for Sunday, and the rain is expected to fall between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. for the majority of it, and then there'll maybe little drizzles here and there later on. So it seems like we might be starting out with a wet track, and firstly, that'll be amazing. Secondly, that because of it starting off as a wet track, it means that the track temperature is going to be super varied. You could start out with track temperatures being 20 degrees Celsius because of all of the water on the track, and then the sun comes out late on in the session and track temperatures increase up to 45, and the teams do need to know which is the best operating temperature for these tyres, how hard can they push, what lap times can they expect, and that way they can work out the best possible strategy for all different scenarios. Slight rain means red flag these days in F1. Yeah, I mean, the way some things have been going, I could say that, oh yeah, if I dropped a bottle of water on the circuit and it spilled onto the track, then we would get a red flag. But no, I think they obviously are very. Look, what happened in Silverstone was, when they allowed us to go racing just after that huge thundercloud hit, and Isaac Hadjar, I think, just spun off and went straight into barriers or something. A lot of the drivers were sort of questioning, why did we go racing here? Like, nobody has any grip, no one has any visibility. Wasn't the smartest idea. So then the drivers would basically had a conversation with the stewards afterwards, being like, yeah, this was not good enough conditions, and we can't really go racing in this. And then we get to Spa already, where we've had several occasions of large crashes going through Eau Rouge, potential, deaths as well. So Spa, the stewards obviously are going to take a much safer and conservative approach, especially after what just happened in Silverstone, where the drivers, some of them did go out and outwardly complain, being like, we shouldn't have gone racing in these conditions. We definitely had some team radios during the Silverstone race to basically say, yeah, that wasn't ideal and we should have carried on under the safety car. So that's probably what happens. But given that there won't be any rain during the or most likely there won't be any rain during the race itself, it should be manageable and we should be able to go racing in Budapest. F1 Gamer, how long do you think the delay will cause? Oh, I didn't think there'll be a delay, but I didn't think there'd be a delay in Spa as well, so I guess we'll see. With FP1, which tyres look good in these conditions for the Hungarian Grand Prix? Well, you can see here that Verstappen did 19 laps on his medium tyres, and and Tsunoda did 21, right? And the thing was, we didn't see a very big difference between the drivers who were locking up. Like, some of them were on medium, some of them were on hards, so it's pretty close to call, and that's the issue for the engineers and the strategists. When the track temperature was around the 40 degree range, 42, 43, then it's very difficult to call whether the medium tyres are better or whether the hard tyres are better. If the temperatures go above, say, 44, 45, then it's quite clear it will be the hard tyres. If the track temperatures drop ever so slightly lower, then it'll be the mediums. But in that window, which is the temperatures we typically see here in Hungary, it's a very tough call to make. And yeah, so I can't really give you a definitive answer, and the drivers and the race strategists don't even know the definitive answer. What do you think about Ferrari this weekend? I think Ferrari are going to be scoring a podium this weekend, to be honest with you. I mean, I'll just pull up the constructors' standings here, folks. So you can see here, Ferrari have scored 5 podiums. No wins. Mercedes have scored a win, Red Bull have scored 2. But Ferrari, 5 podiums from them and no wins. But and all 5 of them have in fact come from Charles Leclerc as well. If you look at the driver standings, Leclerc has got 5 podiums to his name and 139 points. So I think Ferrari's podium is on here because the upgrades that they brought last weekend out in Belgium, they were like very they weren't suited to the Belgium circuit. They're a lot more suited to the Hungarian Grand Prix circuit, and because of that, I just think that this race is the one where potentially Hamilton gets a podium, potentially Leclerc, but this is one of Hamilton. If there's 2 circuits you've got to say are Hamilton's best circuits, one is Silverstone, the second one is Hungary. It's a little bit too close to call between which one is his best. I'd maybe say just Silverstone because it's his home circuit, but regardless, he's really good at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and this could be occasion for him to score a podium. All right. Morning, y'all. Ooh, I need some F1. I'm at work modding ECU boards. Oh, well, thanks for tuning in, Exoteric. Yeah, interesting, modding ECU boards. I see that. That's why you offered me an ECU mod on my motorbike. Fair enough. I guess it's your full job, so you must be pretty good at it. Okay, So, if it rains, what setup do you think the drivers will go for? Well, the thing is, in rain, you just want as much downforce as possible, and in Hungary, you want as much downforce as possible. So, whereas in Spa, you have sort of conflicting opinions. You want as little downforce as possible to go quick in dry conditions, and you want as much downforce as possible, or not as much downforce, you want more downforce in wet conditions. You have this sort of trade off to make in Spa, whereas in Hungary, there's not really that much of a trade off to make because you already want downforce in dry conditions and you want downforce in wet conditions, so the teams will just go for even more downforce than they typically would. Yeah, it's a little bit different because of the different nature of the circuits and stuff like that. Do you think McLaren will have a downfall? No. See, the reason, Red Bull had a downfall, but their car didn't ever get slower. It's just that their pace of upgrades got slower, and McLaren's pace of upgrades got significantly faster, and so did Ferrari's, and so did Mercedes. So, for McLaren to have a downfall, either they're going to need something banned off their car, which I think is highly unlikely. I think everything on the McLaren car is totally legal and fine. So they are going to need other teams to bring upgrades while they can't develop any upgrades. And given that we're going into 2026, nobody's designing upgrades for 2025 anymore. Everyone's designing upgrades for 2026. So because they're designing upgrades for 2026, they essentially, it's pretty impossible really for McLaren to have a downfall. If their drivers start battling into each other and driving into each other, then maybe. But even then, they've already got the Constructors' Championship in the bag. So I don't really know. Yeah, I'd say a downfall is fairly unlikely. Thanks for the compass. It's a nice idea. Yeah, I mean, I think the compass idea is actually from you folks. So yeah, thanks to the chat. Really, thanks to the mods. F1 Gamer, when do you think Hamilton will retire after his Ferrari contract ends? I mean, that's a tough one, really. It really depends on his motivation to sort of continue on going. Even Kimi Raikkonen wasn't in a top car at the end of his career, but he still kept on racing for Alfa Romeo just for the pure love of the sport. Same thing for Seb Vettel. He may not have had the most competitive car at Aston Martin, but just for the love of Formula One, he continued on. So it really depends. Lewis Hamilton, I would say. Whereas Kimi Raikkonen was a person who was purely focused on racing. He didn't want media, he didn't want anything. He just wanted to get on the track and drive as quickly as possible. I think Hamilton is a little bit more sort of varied in that, and he has a lot more interest apart from just Formula One. So maybe he'll retire sooner than we expect. Maybe he won't. But there's no way for me to know. I don't personally know Lewis Hamilton, so yeah, I can give you my best bet. Okay. If you can ban Max for being faster than everyone else by default, you can't ban for McLaren. Oh, if you can't ban, yeah. Yeah, you can't really ban McLaren, can you? They've done everything legally. Maybe there was some sort of rumors flying around that, they were using some dodgy system to cool their tires, but since then, nothing else has come out of it. So, seems like all is good down at the McLaren garage. Yeah, and backing Woking as well. The engineers have been working very, very hard indeed, I've got to say. Just consistent upgrades again and again and again. Because, it's not like Ferrari haven't been getting quicker, and it's not like Mercedes haven't been getting quicker. But the relentless pace of the McLaren upgrades and the relentless effectiveness as well has been outstanding, and they really do deserve to be the quickest team on the grid. Their engineers have done a fantastic job. Okay. Maybe F1 should do something like other race series, add extra weight into the cars that are dominant and level out the playing field. Maybe, but I was looking at sort of the history of Formula One, right? And the fact that we've got a field that is within 1.6 seconds of each other is really mind blowing. It's sort of an outlier if you look at it in terms of Formula One standards. All the way back throughout the history of Formula One, we've had grids that are split by 8 seconds, 10 seconds between the driver in first and in last. So yeah, obviously as modern fans, I've only started watching the sport since 2018, and since then I've seen always the competition be relatively close. But if you look back in sort of historic terms, we are in a period of really, really close racing. F1 Gamer, do you think the back injury is fake and Aston put Drogovic in for a seat for a little because Cadillac Drogovic rumours? No. I really highly doubt that they'll be doing such random stuff like that. I mean, I would see no reason why they would want to do that. Sure, there may be some rumours of Felipe Drogovic going to Cadillac. I personally haven't seen any of these, but even if there are, I don't see how putting him in as a reserve driver helps. In fact, if Aston want to keep him, they should keep him sort of locked away in the factory rather than giving him a test drive, because that they just showed the whole world that he's only 0.3 slower than Stroll, and Stroll's been driving all season long, and Drogovic has just been doing simulator work. So that gives Cadillac even more of an incentive to take Drogovic away from Aston Martin. 100k subs for F1 Gamer chat. Yeah, I mean, maybe, folks. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, be sure to do so. Hopefully we can hit 187k subs today. That would be very, very nice. Oh, I forgot to update the like counter. It's still stuck on the FP1 numbers. I shall update that shortly. But apart from that, it's been a fairly standard free practice 1 session. And in free practice 2, what we'll be expecting is just more running and more qualifying simulations as well. Qualifying simulations is the big one, because now is as representative of temperatures and conditions as we are going to get in quali. So the teams will be doing their absolute best to try and get some accurate data for what's going to go on the circuit. Oh, Exoteric has been a member for 11 months. Thank you so much, buddy. I mean, I really do appreciate it. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say, to be honest, but really big help to the channel, and glad to have you here, buddy. Yeah. Alright, there we go. That's updated to the FP2 stuff, and we'll be getting the FP2 data coming through in about 10 minutes or so. The FIA would come up with some stupid restriction for 2026 and every stupid... Well, see, this is the thing. I, in fact, did a community post a little bit earlier in the week to ask how many of you think that the 2026 regulations are going to improve racing and we're going to have good racing and close racing, and how many of you think that it wasn't going to improve racing, it's going to be worse. And we had a 50-50 split, actually. I think it's 53-47 or something, but half of you think that 2026 is going to improve the racing, half of you think it's not. And I'm really unsure, because on one hand the cars are getting heavier, which is the opposite of what we wanted. The cars, however, are getting narrower, which helps, especially at small street circuits. They should be better suited to racing close to each other as well. But then we're switching to V4 engines with a lot of power coming from a battery, which means while the drivers are doing tyre management, they'll also be doing battery management. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. It's who knows. Just putting Williams on the podium into the universe. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see a Williams podium. They were doing quite well, actually, at the start of FP1. They were up in, I think, 3rd and 4th on 2 separate occasions after 2 separate runs of, everyone going through and doing their runs. Williams ended up 3rd and 4th twice, I think. So maybe they do have pace, maybe they don't. But Williams were on hard tyres for the majority of FP1. So yeah, we will see what their medium tyre pace is like, and, then we'll be able to compare. Okay. F1 Gamer, which website do you use to get the data? It's called Multiviewer, but you do need to pay for F1 TV Pro to actually get it. So yeah, it's an F1 TV Pro ends up being quite expensive, so it's up to you guys. But if you do want to watch the actual coverage with the cars going around, what you can do, you can get Surfshark VPN for $2 a month. Then you can join an Austrian VPN server. You go onto Google, you search Service TV, and once you've Googled Service TV, you just make an account and you log in, you can watch Formula 1. The commentary is in German, so of course if you don't understand German, you can always mute the coverage, listen to me commentate instead, but that way you actually get to see the cars go around on the track. Yeah. So if you're interested, there's a link in the description to Surfshark VPN. Okay. Do you think McLaren can replicate their advantage in 2026 regulation changes, or are they just taking the best of this season, aware that they won't be able to repeat it again next season? Well, okay. This is a tough one, really, isn't it? Tough question. So what sort of dictates a team being good after a new regulation change is that there are multiple different concepts of what can be a quick car. And we saw at the start of the 2022 regs, Mercedes had these zero side pod concepts where they had absolutely no side pods, and they thought that that would be the quickest car for them, and it turned out not to be. And another team thought something different, and Ferraris had these huge scoops in their side pod and extra sort of large side pods that were scooping the air around, and that turned out to be all right. And Red Bull did similar stuff. So there's firstly the decision of making this correct choice of which one is going to be a more suitable setup, or not setup, or design philosophy, shall we say, of which is going to be the better one, the quicker one. And that is sort of a game of chance. You can use some experience there and some prior knowledge to maybe deduce which one you think is going to work better. But once you've done that, then it's purely a game of how much simulation time you have, how long hours do your engineers work, and how many good ideas can they come up with. And that's not really... And those three things combined with an accurate simulation setup, which McLaren do have. Any team that is progressing a lot in terms of their upgrade packages does have an accurate simulation package. So Aston Martin, we saw in their most recent upgrade package back in Imola, they progressed loads up the field because Adrian Newey came in, probably fixed some things with their simulation, and then the engineers did some more testing and stuff, and it turned out that Aston Martin actually had a fairly decent car. So, Williams have been making huge leaps and strides, and they probably have a pretty accurate simulation setup. Same thing for McLaren. So, it's just too tough to call, but I would suspect that McLaren will definitely be up there. I don't think, unless they choose the totally different, the wrong design idea, then in that situation, then there's not much you can do. But if they pick the right one, I think they'll definitely be up there. F1 Gamer in chat, since Aston Martin is Honda next year, how will Alonso and Honda reunion go? It didn't go so well with the McLarens decades ago. That is correct. However, the reunion with Honda decades ago was with a very big engine change, whereas currently what we're doing is we're sort of modifying the current engines that we've got. So we're removing, I think, the MGU-H, and we're keeping the MGU-K. And then we're just increasing the size of the battery and decreasing the size of the internal combustion engine. So it's not a completely new design idea. It's sort of modifying a current design idea, which Honda have executed very well. So I wouldn't expect that suddenly next year the Honda are going to be really bad because they're working with Alonso or anything like that. They had a very, very rough start to the turbo hybrid era, and then things got better eventually, and we're still in the turbo hybrid era. We're not suddenly switched to hydrogen powered engines or anything like that for things to suddenly change so drastically. You think Sainz to Williams was a bad idea? No, I mean, Sainz has been doing all right. It hasn't had the best time at Williams so far, but I'm sure that he'll be able to cope. Yeah. F1 Gamer, hydrate. Indeed, I will. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for reminding me. Because, yeah, I didn't drink much during FP1, and my throat really does reflect that. So I'm going to have a quick sip of water, and we should have the FP2 data times up. Very nice. Okay. There we go. Brilliant. Okay, I'm just going to have a quick sip of water. I'll be back in a second. We are 7 minutes away from the start of FP2, and as you can see there up on the screen, we have got all of the standard drivers up there as expected. Who do you think is going to be the new team principal of Cadillac? I'm not sure about team principal. Maybe they could hire Christian Horner. He's got a lot of experience, but I think maybe drivers. Probably Bottas, probably Perez. Maybe they want Felipe Drogovic. I'm not really sure. Typically, I would say as a new team, I would personally like to find my feet within Formula One. And to do that, I think you would need two very experienced drivers to pass on all of the knowledge that they've got. me from a outside perspective, I know a limited amount about a Formula One team. Valtteri Bottas has been working at a championship winning Mercedes for so many years on end. He knows all of the changes that the teams went through, what was the best way to go about doing certain things, and he can take that knowledge and bring it to Audi. Sergio Perez has done a similar thing for Force India. He's done a similar thing with the Aston Martin team. Sorry, not the Aston Martin, the Red Bull team. So he can also bring that knowledge to Audi, and I think that'd be really good for Audi to actually progress forward. And of course, they're not totally taking over. Sauber will still, the Sauber engineers will convert into Audi engineers, but there'll be a lot of new personnel coming in, and I think having two experienced drivers will really help with that. But is that really a job of the driver? Gecko asks. Well, that's a good question. You make a good point. It's not it's not totally the job of a driver to sort of convey that knowledge. So of course you do want a very experienced team principal, and then from a driver's, because you've got to think about this car is sort of a two-sided approach. Of course, you can design from a design and engineering perspective. You need people that understand sort of the design ideas and stuff like that to make a good car, but then you also need the input from experienced drivers to make a car that is actually drivable. So a car that is drivable, a car that handles well, that has good tyre wear, and all of these things you can't just get either from the team principal or from just the driver. You need a combination of the two, and yeah, so you would want an experienced team principal as well. And in the form of that, they've got Mattia Binotto. He has gone to the Audi team, and Mattia Binotto, of course, he worked his way up through the Ferrari engine division. He, in fact, was Michael Schumacher's powertrain engineer, or race engineer, or he definitely worked on the engine side with Michael Schumacher when Schumacher was winning all of his championships. So, and then he made his way up into team principal, and then of course got fired. But regardless, he still has all of that knowledge. So, yeah. Okay. We are now 3 minutes and 40 seconds away from the start of the Free Practice 2 session here in Budapest. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We got 3,000 people tuning in. Folks, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, be sure to do that as well. We are here in Budapest, at top speeds of 330 kilometers per hour. The circuit is only 4.3 kilometers long. So a lot shorter than what we had in Spa 1 week ago. And apart from that, it's a relatively flat circuit. You've got 30 meters of elevation change, but that's all concentrated down between turn number 2 and turn number 5. So you go down the hill through turn number 2 and then up the hill back to turn number 5, and then the rest of the circuit is relatively flat. So yeah, in fact, I'll take you through a lap of the circuit while we're waiting for the cars to come out onto the track. So here we go. Working. I don't know why the onboards seem to be having some issues as of recently. Oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah, you're coming out of the final corner here in Hungary at Budapest. You want to get a nice exit onto the straight. Ideally not get a nice big tank slapper like I've just done there. But you continue on down the start-finish straight. Brake at the 100-meter mark there. And you downshift into third for this, and then just shift up early to reduce your wheel spin, because tyre wear is a big issue here. And they shift up, doing some short shifting really does help out with your tyre wear. And it helps out with your traction as well. Then you continue on through these corners, down the hill you go, and now you're going up the hill. At this point, you can't really see the apex. You kind of just have to use a reference point to hope that the car stays within track limits. And yeah, exceeding track limits on the exit turn number 4, very, very easy to do so. And we've seen a lot of drivers get their lap times deleted because of that. You go over the curbs through 6 and 7 onto this concrete strip there on the right just before you turn into turn number 8 and 9. Then you've got 10 and 11 left to go. 10 is easy flat, 11 a little lift, flick the car in and then try and hold it within track limits. Turn number 12, it's straight line braking and then smoothly onto the power on towards turn number 13. Here you can take a really early apex carry, as much speed as you can through the early phase of the corner. You don't need good traction because you're about to hit the brakes again in a second. And then for this one, you do need a nice exit because you've got to accelerate all the way up into 7th gear for the start, finish straight. And that is a lap of Hungary, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, yeah. So that is it's a pretty good circuit, to be fair. Lots of challenging corners for the drivers and overtaking opportunities mainly just in the first sector. Turns number 1, 2, 3, and 4 are where you see the drivers overtake, go side by side, and yeah. All right. Let's see then. If you have any questions, any predictions, let me know in the chat. And yeah, just make sure to do at F1 Gamer, and then I'll be able to. It pops up on my screen a lot brighter than everything else. F1 Gamer, will it be having better traction? Yeah, you will get better traction if you short shift through the gears, because essentially what happens is when you short shift through a gear, you go up into the gear and your RPMs drop down, and because your RPMs drop down, you have less power available to your throttle pedal, and your throttle pedal becomes a lot more sensitive then. So let's say you're in 3rd gear and your RPMs are really high, and that means you've got 1000 horsepower available to your throttle pedal, and your throttle pedal can only move, say, 5 centimeters, right? So in that 5 centimeter space, you have got 1000 horsepower to play with, and you have to be extremely precise. And to be honest, with your feet, it's very, very difficult to be that precise. So then what happens is, if you are in 4th gear, you have say 600 horsepower to play with, or 700 horsepower to play with, and then you've still got the same 5 centimeters of travel in your pedal. That makes it a lot easier to find that limit of grip and stay just underneath it. So yeah, that's why we see drivers short shifting. That's why it helps with traction and wheel spin. Okay. So have we got going on? F1 Gamer, this circuit rewards someone who works well with a big emphasis on rear downforce. I mean, maybe, but it's just you just need a lot of downforce around the circuit. It's not necessarily rear downforce or front downforce, because each driver has their own preferential balance. But yeah, it's a circuit where you do need a lot of downforce, and top speed's not going to save you here. F1 Gamer, do you think Lance will be able to keep his seat in 2026 if he continues performing in free practices in races? I feel it's possible, considering he's having some good performances. Yeah, I think Lance Stroll does get hated on, and, I contribute to that, to be honest. But he's not really that bad of a driver. Yeah, yes, there are certain occasions where he acts like a total clown, but if you ignore those few occasions where he does act like a total clown, you can still see that he has got some raw pace underneath him, and that's how he's managed to stay in Formula 1. A lot of people have a lot of money, and like, let's say Nikita Mazepin, he had a lot of money behind his name, and still he didn't manage to keep a Formula 1 seat because he was just crashing too often, did not have enough pace, didn't help the engineers in any sort of meaningful way, and Haas were like, well, yeah, he's giving us money, but if we're going to stay at the back of the pack, there's just no point keeping him. So Stroll, of course, has got a lot of money, and he is also driving pretty well, so can't give him too much flack. F1 Gamer, is it clear what was the problem with the Sauber in FP1? I'm not sure, but Hulkenberg's car is back and going, so that was the car that had the issues, the electrical issues. So whatever issues they were, they have been resolved. Bortoletto is also out on the track. He was sat in the pit lane for a little bit at the end of the FP1. So whatever issues the Saubers had, they have been resolved. I'm not sure what exactly they were, unfortunately. Rain wants to give Max a good game, but it seems like the FIA won't let that happen. I mean, the FIA are doing their best to keep everything safe. They're not really doing it because, Max has a wet setup and Charles Leclerc has a dry setup, so we prefer Charles Leclerc to Max, so we're going to go racing in the dry. There's none of that, really. It was purely a matter of safety. And, they did their job successfully, and all of the drivers made it through without any injuries. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have a quick sip of water. We are 5 minutes into the session, and yeah, as expected, at the start of FP2, we will have quite a few qualifying simulations, and then once the qualifying simulations are done, we will get underway. Oh, sorry, we'll have quite a few long runs at the start of FP2, and then once they are done and out of the way, we will get the quali sims coming in. So yeah, just be sure to hang on in there, and we'll be getting underway for the quali sims very, very soon. Okay, I'm gonna have a quick sip of water, and yeah. Fernando Alonso momentarily top of the times, quickly taken away by Lance Stroll, his teammate, but yeah, Alonso's no slouch, and even though he missed all of FP1, he is fine. We'll keep an eye out on his radios just to see if he's having any sort of issues with his back. If anyone that missed FP1, Fernando Alonso had some back problems, or not back problems, he had there was a muscle in his back that was giving him quite a bit of pain, and because of that he had to miss FP1, and because he missed FP1, he the physio checked him out and made sure everything was, as he helped out as much as he could, and then the FIA cleared him medically to be able to drive. So yeah, Alonso's taking part again, and we'll keep an eye out though on his radios to see if he starts complaining about any sort of back pain. Old man, really old man, isn't it? The older you get, the more back pain you have, I think. The lap record around here, I think it's a 1 minute 13.4. Yeah, 1 minute 13.4. Lewis Hamilton's W11. Not really surprised, really. Nearly all of the lap records are held by Lewis Hamilton's W11, so yeah, it's 2 seconds quicker, than last year's pole time. Oh, that's a lot of gravel all over the circuit. Turn number 12. I don't know which driver that was. I think it was Nico Hulkenberg. Yeah, he hasn't driven this car at this circuit before. Of course, not taking part in FP1. Paul Aaron was doing that on his behalf, and Hulkenberg picking up a lot of gravel. However, didn't seem to lose that much lap time. He was super smooth on the steering, and his traction was good as well. So he didn't actually lose a huge amount of time, but did kick up a lot of gravel, and any driver behind him most certainly would have lost a lot of time. So maybe Nico Hulkenberg's perfecting his plan C for chaos, when it's time to hold on to a race win, because Nico Hulkenberg's definitely going to be winning a race this weekend. He will drive over the gravel trap on the exit of turn number 12, kick up a bunch of gravel so the driver behind him can't gain time on him, but he doesn't lose any time. Plan C for chaos, folks. He's clearly taken inspiration. Colapinto has just come over the radio, say, check the floor for damage, I've just driven over a lot of gravel. See, that was all part of the plan, ladies and gentlemen, all part of the plan from Nico Hulkenberg. Okay, when do you think would be the best time for Max to move to Mercedes, considering I've seen a report George is staying until 2027? Well, I don't really know. We won't really know the official contract length until it actually comes out. There's been loads of rumours, but these contract negotiations are a pretty fragile thing, and Russell could be staying till the end of 2026, he could be staying till the end of 2027. That will get decided soon enough, but Max Verstappen will pretty much have a free choice, as I've been saying, really, for the majority of this season. Verstappen, if he gets on the phone with any team principal, they will and says, I want to drive for your team, I'm pretty sure every single team principal is going to say yes, apart from maybe the McLarens or Ferrari, because Ferrari have paid Lewis Hamilton a lot of money to come to the team, and they're not going to get rid of Charles Leclerc. McLarens are pretty happy with their current driver lineup, so I don't see why they would change. But apart from that, he could call up any other team on the grid, and he'd be able to drive just fine. So it's really just down to Max, isn't it? All right. Hello, how is Lando's pace today? Lando's pace, pretty good to be fair. Lando Norris has a little bit of an upper hand on Piastri through the middle sector. Not through the middle sector, through the final sector. Through the first and second sector, Piastri and Norris pretty much identical. But the final sector is where Norris is getting most of his time. He did the same last year as well. In 2024 in Hungary, he had a great final sector that got him pole position. Same thing. Yeah, he beat Verstappen in the final sector and his teammate Piastri in the final sector, and that's how Norris got pole last year. So we shall see if he can replicate the same success, or whether Piastri and Verstappen are going to learn from their mistakes from last year and have a good final sector. F1 Gamer, who's your favourite F1 driver? My favourite F1 driver is Seb Vettel. Yeah, no longer driving in the sport, but definitely my favourite driver. And trust me, if he's driving in a World Endurance Championship race, in an endurance race for the 24 hours of Le Mans or something, 24 hours of Spa, you bet I'm commentating the entire 24 hours of Spa. No breaks, no nothing. And I'll be there. I'll be there. So you just got to let me know when Seb is racing again. And yeah. Oh, Hamilton. 4 tenths off the back of Charles Leclerc, but he did get blocked in the final sector, so I wouldn't read too much into that. Let's say if his final sector was a good final sector, if he lost 2 tenths of time in the final sector, so if that wasn't lost and he had a decent final sector, then he would have been just 2 tenths off his teammate Charles Leclerc, so not too shabby there from Lewis. Okay. What else have we got going on then? Not that much. Yeah, just medium tire running really. It looks like most of the drivers have opted for the mediums now in FP2. We saw a good split between the mediums and the hards in FP1, but with track temperatures now sort of cemented at 40 degrees, and I'm guessing the forecast says that it's not going to hotten up later on, and that's why the teams have decided to go out on the mediums now to see if the medium tires do work best at 40 degrees. Because as I was saying earlier, the temperature window where it's difficult to make a call between mediums and hards is around 42 to 45 or 44 degrees or so. That's when the mediums and the hards are really close to each other. But when it gets cooler than that, the mediums are the best choice. When it gets hotter than that, the hards are the best choice. So yeah, it makes sense now. With track temperature at 40 degrees, the drivers are out on mediums. Norris goes up into first position. George Russell complaining over the radio about Ollie Behrman. So don't know what's going on there. But Norris up at the top, Charles Leclerc 2 tenths back, and then we have Russell in third, half a second back. Isaac Hadjar again in fourth position. I think he was fourth or fifth or something in FP1, and his pace is still going on strong. So really, really nice job there from Isaac Hadjar, and yeah, he's just got to hope that he doesn't get demoted to the full Red Bull team, because that could really screw with his confidence, couldn't it? F1 Gamer, if you were the FIA president, what would you change / add in the rules? Well, the main rule that I would change, I don't know if you guys know, but I think back in like the 2000s or something, McLaren had a second brake pedal, and they were sort of using the brake pedal to help them go through the corners quicker. If you don't sort of understand how that works, essentially what would happen is that they would activate the brakes on, say you're turning left into a corner. What they would do, they would activate their left side brakes, and then the car would sort of turn leftwards, because your left tires are going slower than your right tires, and then your car sort of just turns by itself without even touching the steering wheel. And they use that to their advantage. So going through corners, the F1 drivers would be tapping the brake pedal to help the car rotate through corners. And I think that should be added back into the sport. Firstly, why do I think that? Because it will help get the drivers closer in terms of racing. Basically, let's say 20% of your pace is made up from the grip from your tires, and 80% is made up from the downforce. You'll lose a lot of that downforce due to dirty air. But let's say if you add this second brake pedal in, then what you can do, 20% of your grip comes from your tires, 20% of your grip comes from your second brake pedal, and then the remaining 60% comes from downforce. So a lot less of your grip is actually affected by dirty air, so that'll closen up racing. And secondly, it gives the drivers more to think about, and the more things the drivers have to think about, the easier it is for them to make mistakes, the more skill is required. And so that is my first rule. Let me know what you think. Oh, okay, 1997. Okay, makes sense. Okay, 1997, 1998. Thanks for the correction, but yeah, I still think that rule would be pretty good. Let me know what you think though of that idea. And the other thing is, I would get Yamaha on the phone. Yamaha, the people that make like motorbikes and jet skis and musical instruments and stuff like that, and I'd get them to custom design exhausts for Formula One cars to make them super duper loud and sound amazing. Those are the two things that I would change. Yeah. All right. Anyway, that is. Thanks for the question. We're going to get back to what's actually going on the track, though. I think that's what most of you are here for. So we have got, yeah, basically just medium tyre running, to be honest. It's just the two Hasses that are on hards, and Bortoletto is also on hard tyres. Right, no fines for swearing. Of course, yeah, no fines for swearing. Would you get the V10s, V8s, or V12s? I would get the V10s for sure. Yeah, bin off the hybrid system, make the cars smaller, lighter. Sort of just do the 2000 and let's say 8 regulations, or maybe 2009. Oh yeah, no, 2008 or maybe 2005, 2004 regulations. Add in the halo, add in the extra safety stuff that we have this year in all of the modern Formula One stuff. But the old sort of regulations, that'd be awesome. Are the softs useless on this track? Well, they are useless if the track temperature is high, which it typically is here in Budapest. However, let's say it's Sunday and it's rained at the start of the race and it's now drying up. What tyres would you think is best? At that point, the soft tyres would be the best tyres, and because the track temperature would stay low, it would be pretty feasible to do maybe a 10, 15, 20 lap stint on them, and then assess the track conditions in 15 laps, 10 laps, and then if it's going to stay dry, then pit onto the mediums. If it's going to become wet again, then stay out on the softs and then pit onto inters again. So I think the soft tyres definitely do have their use, but it's only when the circuit is sort of drying up from wet conditions. Oscar Piastri goes top, 2/10 quicker than Lando Norris. Really nice job there from the man from Melbourne, and yeah, he's got a purple final sector as well. So whatever issues that I was just saying that Piastri and Verstappen were both down on Norris in the final sector, not anymore by the looks of it. Not anymore. F1 Gamer, what happens to the tyres after the race? They send them back to Pirelli. Pirelli analyse all of the tyres, make sure that there was nothing sort of alarming and dangerous appearing on them to make sure, yeah, of course the drivers are safe. You don't want to be going through a corner at 150 miles an hour and suddenly you get a tyre blowout. So yeah, Pirelli take them back and they analyse them. The teams will get some time to analyse them as well, but then they get sent back to Pirelli and Pirelli will do a thorough analysis. It would be pretty cool though to be able to buy used sets of F1 tires, because surely Pirelli can do their analysis and then just leave them, let them be, and then they could just sell them. Like, oh, I got the tires that Max Verstappen used in FP1 of the Hungarian Grand Prix or whatever. That'd be pretty nice as a sort of a souvenir. Really, you could use it as a coffee table. Maybe, I'm not sure how big the tires are really. You could definitely use it as a footstool. That would be a pretty nice souvenir, wouldn't it? They probably cost quite a bit. That is correct, actually. I did forget that. But I'm guessing for the rich folk out there, it would be still very cool. Tire compound is a company secret. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, because then Bridgestone and Michelin and everyone would buy the tires, and then they would get their engineers to have a look at the tires, figure out what rubber compounds they're using, and then they'd put in a bid to Formula One saying, "Oh yeah, we can make better tires than Pirelli. Just give us a bunch of money and we'll do it." So yeah, actually that makes sense. How come different drivers have different tire icons? Basically, if you have a slash going through your tire compound, that means you came out of the pits on a used set of tires. If you don't have a slash going through your tire compound, that means you came out on a fresh set. So Norris is out on a fresh set of mediums, purple first sector, purple second sector, and he's now just got the final corner left to go. What can Lando Norris do? Here he comes across the line. Is it purple in all three sectors? No, it is not. He's slower than Piastri in the final sector by 4 milliseconds nonetheless. And overall, though, he gains 2 seconds of lap time, 2/10 of lap time, and is up in first position. So yeah, that's the little difference between the tyre graphics. If you've got a slash through the tyre, that means you came out of the pits on a used set. If you haven't got a slash, you came out on a fresh set. The speed trap is halfway down the start-finish straight there, just where Tsunoda's just driven past. Bridgestone tyres would offer more consistent performance. They need to come back to F1. Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty interesting to have different tyre manufacturers back in Formula 1 as well. And also, another thing that I would like to see, I would like to see the F2004, the one that Schumacher won his final championship in. And I would like to see that on Pirelli slicks, because they were on, I don't know if they were on Bridgestone or Michelin or what they were, but they were groove tyres. And the groove tyres do not have anywhere near as much grip as slick tyres. So I would love to see what that 2004 car could do on slicks, because I reckon if they were put on a set of slick tyres, maybe they would be beating the W11's lap times. Let me know what you think. But if they were on full slicks, the Pirelli slicks that we have now, do you think they'd beat the W11 lap time? Okay, finally we've got some drivers coming into the pits, which is a good sign, because that means they should be coming out on sets of softs in about 5-10 minutes time. So that would be very, very nice to see. Okay. One set of tires costs around $3,000 USD. Not too bad, really. I mean, they're not horrendously expensive, but that's one tire. Or is that one set? Oh no, one set of tire costs around 2,700 USD. So if you divide that by 4, that's 500 and something, or 600 and something. So $600 for one Pirelli tire. Not everyone's going to go out and buy it, but if you had a mega F1 fan in your family or whatever, it would be a pretty cool birthday present, maybe. But I'm sure maybe they'd want something else for $600. Okay. F1 Gamer, who's your favourite current driver? I don't really have one. Maybe Alonso, maybe Tsunoda. Yeah. Yeah, maybe Alonso, maybe Tsunoda. Not really sure. F1 game, would you bring back the Hypersofts? Yeah, I mean, the Hypersofts just, they just sound so cool. Like, yes, I get that they were confusing, but, Hypersoft tires, they just sound like, well, crazy, don't they? So, yeah, I would, if I had the opportunity to bring back the name Hypersofts, for sure, I would do so. It would make things really confusing, though. All right. Hypersofts would destroy the lap times. Yeah, they would. If they didn't overheat, of course, because they were only pretty limited to some other circuits. I think we had them in Singapore, we had them in Monaco. I don't know if we had them in Hungary actually, because of the huge tire wear, the huge temperatures in Hungary. But yeah, I really can't remember. All right, then. We have got 40 minutes left of the session, folks, and we've only got 3 cars out on track, unfortunately. Yeah, not that much running. I'm going to put on an onboard lap here for us to watch, because yeah, we haven't really got that much action going on the circuit. So in fact, I'll take you through a cockpit video rather than just watching from the TV camera. Let's watch from the driver's eye in the cockpit. So here you are coming into the final corner. You're looking towards this apex here. You just got a barrier to your inside. You've got to be very careful not to clip this inside barrier, and then you're accelerating outwards, trying to stay within track limits, of course, when you're doing that. And Hamilton's had a bit of an off. Yeah, not the most grip there from Hamilton in that Ferrari. You continue on through turn number 1 here, going down the hill, downhill braking here, so easy to lock up, and you need to brake a little bit earlier than you would expect as well. Accelerating again down the hill, you gain a lot more speed, and flat through turns number 3. Now heading up the hill towards turn number 4, you're on a crest here, and just might I point out how blind this corner is. Let me go back just 1 second on the replay here, and yeah, so you're heading towards this apex. You've reached the entry curb, and you still have no idea where the corner is. Is it 10 meters down the road? Is it 20 meters down the road? You have no idea. So you have to turn in just blind for this corner, because you're sat so low down in the car. flick it in and see that I exceeded track limits there because I didn't know where the corner was. I'm not used to driving in the cockpit cam. And then you go towards the chicane, just drive over these curbs as much as you can already. You gain so much lap time by doing so. Lando Norris, that's how he got pole. Perfect final sector, and also driving over these curbs in turns number 6 and 7. Then the remainder of this middle sector is just very, very flowing. At turn number 11, you've got to stay within track limits, downshift, flick the car to the right, hope it sticks, and then you've got turn number 12, gravel trap here on the exit that, well, you could deploy as a plan C as chaos if you wanted to, and then at this point your tyres are really overheating and super easy to drift wide like I just did there, and then just try to get a good exit really out of turn number 14 to get a nice speed down the start finish straight. But that's a lap of Hungary, folks. All right, we have now got Carlos Sainz out on a fresh set of soft tyres. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally getting some running and finally getting some quick running as well. So thanks, Williams, for sending out Carlos on a set of softs. Here he is. He's done his out lap. It's quite a short lap, really, to warm up your tyres and get them into the correct window. Thankfully, the teams try to keep their tyre temperatures to a minimum, and they don't actually have to get them up to 100 degrees Celsius, because that would prove quite challenging. But now Carlos Sainz crawling out of the final corner. He's just building up the speed ever so slightly, builds it up, and now his foot is flat to the floor. He comes out of the final corner, stays well within track limits, and is now barreling his way down the start-finish straight, accelerating up to 320 km per hour, slams on the brakes. The DRS slam shut as well at turn number 1, hits his apex perfectly, and then opens the DRS flap nice and early to get as much speed as he can down the hill towards turn number 2. No locking up in sight for Carlos Sainz. Hits the apex nicely as well, and carrying a good amount of speed through turn number 2 and 3. Then up the hill towards turn number 4, flicks the car, and the car is planted to the ground like crazy. Purple in the first sector for Carlos Sainz, quicker than Lando Norris by a tenth and a half, and now he's got the chicane to deal with. Going through the curbs, he does so nicely, not too much bouncing from the Williams, and it looks nice and stable. Now in the middle sector, it's just pure rhythm from Carlos Sainz, left, right, and that is some impeccable driving once again within track limits. He isn't pushing that car too hard. You can tell by how far away he is from track limits. Once he gets to qualifying, of course, the drivers all will be on the tantalizing edge of that painted white line, but as of right now, the driver's not worrying too hard. He enters the pit lane entry just to get a good exit out of turn number 14. Out of the final corner he comes, and then that is third position for Carlos Sainz. Loses time in the second and third sector, and that might indicate to me that his soft tyres have overheated a little bit here on his push lap, because he was purple in the first sector, but it takes a lot of sort of tyre life out of your tyres essentially by just pushing so hard. Sainz also, as he was heading towards turn number 6, dipped a wheel into the gravel trap, which obviously didn't help his grip, and that compromised his middle sector. So regardless, though, a fairly clean lap from Carlos Sainz, and yeah, we're looking to improve on that. A pretty decent foundation to start with, and here we go. We've got the rest of the drivers coming out on softs as well. Great to see. Okay, yeah, smooth operation. Well, fairly smooth operation, not totally smooth, but not too shabby. Yeah, folks, if you're watching via Surfshark VPN, like a lot of people are, the best way to sync up the coverage is just the timer that's on the bottom left of the screen. On my screen here, it's got 33 minutes and 10 seconds, 9 seconds, whatever it is, and just pause it and sync it up with what it is on Surfshark VPN using the Austrian VPN server and Servers TV. And once you sync that up, everything will be sort of in sync, and it's not going to be too far forward, too far backwards, and yeah. Okay. Surely Pirelli destroy all of their tyres after analysis. The cost of manufacturing is irrelevant. I think it's a great idea to auction off all the tyres after every race. I don't know if they destroy them, but I really don't know what they're going to do. Like, do they have just some huge warehouse somewhere? Oh, is this the technical coverage? Oh, we had a technical issues screen on Lance Stroll's onboard for some reason. But yeah, Stroll up into first position, clearly the GOAT, 3/10 clear of Lando Norris. So some good pace there in the Aston. Stroll was so quick he caused a technical blackout on his onboard camera. Yeah, I don't know what they were going to do with, like, did they just have a huge warehouse of used F1 tires? Because yeah, it doesn't seem like it'd make much sense. I guess you got to call up Mario Isola, the Pirelli team boss, and not team boss, Pirelli CEO, and see what he's got to say. Even the F1 cameras couldn't handle Stroll. Indeed, indeed. Purple in the first sector, purple in the third sector as well. And yeah, the McLarens again just dominant in the middle sector, very similar to what we saw in Spa. Okay, let's have a look then. So here we've got the McLarens on the flying laps. Here comes Lando Norris up the hill. He goes towards turn number 4. Piastri just exiting turn number 1 here down the hill towards 3. What can he do? It's looking pretty good in the hands of Oscar Piastri. So yeah, I'm sure he's happy with this so far. And yeah, purple first sector. Lando Norris has to back out of it. I don't know if it was traffic or if he made a mistake, but yeah, there seems to be quite a bit of traffic for Norris, in fact. So Piastri now making his way through 6 and 7. It's a very narrow sequence of corners. These drivers have got to get out of the way because Piastri's on a flying lap, and yeah, and now we're at the helicopter cam, so we can barely see the cars. But yeah, I think they get out of the way nicely enough because Piastri's still pushing on for purple in the middle sector. Yeah, clearly they didn't block him because he's purple in the middle sector, a quarter of a second up on Stroll. Only a quarter of a second up, surprisingly. But the McLaren's really good in the final sector. Let's see if Piastri can put it together. Hulkenberg across the line, 4th place for him. Great job there from Nico Hulkenberg in the kick Sauber. He hasn't even driven in FP1, but here he comes into FP2, and we are half an hour into the session. He's up in 4th position. Piastri goes at 3/10 clear of Lance Stroll. Nicely done, but only 3/10 is the gap. I would have expected it to be a lot bigger between the Astons and the McLarens. Maybe it's just a good lap from Stroll because Antonelli is 6/10 back from Piastri. So yeah, nicely done. But we've got one of the McLaren's engineers looking rather confused. So maybe there is a lot of lap time left on the table for Piastri. All right, we got Max out on a flying lap now as well. Sorry, not a flying lap. Max is out on an out lap. And we've just got Ocon across the line, 5th place for him. Hamilton starts a flying lap as well. And here we go then. We're having a load of laps coming through. Isaac Hadjar, 3rd place again. This man does not stop to deliver. And I'm going to be honest, folks, that if we are talking about rookie of the season or rookie of the first half of the season, it is most certainly and most definitely Isaac Hadjar. You know, we've had Oliver Behrman has been doing at what is expected of him. Gabriel Bortoleto on occasion has been outperforming what is expected of him, you know, beating Nico Hulkenberg on various occasions in quali. Then we have had Kimi Antonelli with his first podium, but apart from that, not the most consistency in the world and not a lot of visible improvement that we've seen as well. You know, his pace has always been a little bit back from George Russell, and it hasn't got noticeably closer in the past couple of races. And yeah, Isaac Hadjar, I've just got to say, incredible from him, and his form recently has been amazing. And I've just got to say, definitely my rookie of the first half of the season, at least probably rookie of the full season. Norris improves by 0.3 of a second to Oscar Piastri, and yeah, he goes up into first position, quicker in the first sector, quicker in the second sector, and just an all-around great lap, but not quicker in the final sector. Piastri still has the upper hand there. So nicely done from Piastri. We've got Hamilton across the line, 5th place for him. And we've got 8,000 people tuning into the live stream as well. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you guys are enjoying the coverage. I'll be commentating for quali as well, so be sure to tune into that one. And it should be very, very exciting indeed. Next up across the line is Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. Let's see what Charles can do. He aborted his lap, so he's going to be restarting his flying lap. Max Verstappen, however, did not abort his lap. 8th place, only 1.1 seconds back. Oh my goodness me. It's gone from bad to worse for Red Bull. And in FP1 he was 9/10 off the pace. Now he's 1.1 seconds off the pace, and Oh, no, no, no. He's behind Esteban Ocon in the Haas. Okay, there's a turn 3 incident involving Max Verstappen noted. So maybe he had a really big issue in the first sector or something, because he's 3/10 down in the first sector. He is 3/10 down in the middle sector, 3/10 down in the final sector. He's just lost 3/10 everywhere. So I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on. We'll see what Leclerc can do, however. I'm kind of hopeful for Leclerc. I don't think Verstappen might not be able to compete here for pole position, but I think Charles Leclerc is a good shot. So, don't go just yet McLaren domination. It's going to bore fans, 1-2, etc., etc. Firstly, because McLaren domination is about to get very, very exciting, because the two McLaren drivers have now been declared allowed to fight against each other. The team, the papaya rules or whatever they are now allowing the two teams to fight, the two sides of the garage to fight against each other, which makes it a lot more exciting. And secondly, Leclerc's there, half a second back, 2 cents back from Piastri, half a second back from Norris, and not too shabby in terms of his pace. And yeah, Charles Leclerc going for a double cool lap here. So we should be seeing some more hot laps from him, and Hamilton as well. Yeah, both drivers, I think they're doing double cool down laps, and then they're going to go out and do a push lap. Okay, F1 Gamer, pick a driver on the lap and sync your onboard run with the cam. Yeah, I will. Let's see. Oh, wait, what? Stroll's in third position. Hold up. What? Lance Stroll in third place. Fernando Alonso is currently in 18th. What's happening with Alonso? I don't know. Tsunoda's up into 8th. Tsunoda's ahead of Max Verstappen. What is going on today? I don't know, Stroll's ahead of Alonso, Tsunoda's ahead of Verstappen. Like, is it opposite day today, or what's going on? I'm not sure. But great lap from Tsunoda. Great improvement from him. Since Lauren Mickey's has come into the team, he seems a lot happier with, just the general mood, and also just happier in general as well. So Alonso is 4/10 down on Norris's time as he enters the final sector. We'll see what he can do. Gasly only 17th for him, unfortunately. And now Alonso's just got the final corner left to navigate. He gets through that nicely. A lot of grip still left in that Aston by the looks of it. Crosses the line. What's it going to be for Fernando Alonso? 5th position. Are Aston Martin back? Question mark. Imola is a pretty similar circuit to Hungary. It's a very narrow circuit. It's still a purpose-built circuit. There's loads of grass everywhere. You do need relatively high downforce in Imola as well. And the upgrade package that Aston Martin brought in Imola gave them a lot of performance. So maybe this is Aston Martin's weekend. But I guess we'll see. I guess we shall see. We've got a replay here, and that is Oscar Piastri kicking up a huge amount of dirt in the middle sector on the exit of the chicane. I'll show you a quick replay here, but he kicked up. Oh my god! All right, let me just pull up my replay, and I'll show you how much and just where he kicked up all of this gravel. So we're going through the middle sector. Yeah, just exactly here. In fact, I picked it nicely. And he just exited the chicane here. So let's just go back a couple seconds. So he's making his way through the chicane is Oscar Piastri. And then he hits his apex nicely, but then is carrying so much speed through the chicane that he runs out onto the grass on the right-hand side. And then just loses so much lap time. The front right and rear right of his car, rear right tyres are all covered in grass, and then the next corner is a left-hander, which means all of the grip required is all from the right-hand side of the car. Currently, those tyres are covered in dirt. So that explains why Piastri is 3/10 back from Lando Norris, and that I'm sure, will get fixed sooner rather than later. Okay. I don't know what's happened with Max. Max turn 3 incident will be investigated after session. Sorry, folks. I might have missed this in the replays of what was going on. But can someone let me know in the chat of what happened with Max Verstappen there? Lewis Hamilton, quickest down the start, finished straight 313 kilometers per hour. Definitely got a toe on that one. But purple in the first sector regardless. So yeah, Hamilton is a man on a mission here. Let's see what he can do. Can he get close to Charles Leclerc? Of course, he had the assistance of a toe down the start-finish straight. That'll probably gain him a tenth and a half or something. But the rest of the lap is all down to his own pace through the corners. Max threw something onto the track. Oh, okay. It must be a helmet visor then. Not a helmet visor, a visor tear-off. All right, yellow in the middle sector, not ideal. Green in the final sector for Hamilton. And he is a tenth slower than Fernando Alonso. What is going on? I said Ferrari would be competing with the McLarens. Aston Martin are now competing with the McLarens. Yeah, what? F1 gave me he's saving pace for quali. Trust. Well, maybe he's saving pace for quali, but maybe he's back in the garage and deciding to change the setup in the opposite direction to hopefully give him a little bit more grip. He's sandbagging like Silverstone. Maybe the car. Well, I don't think he was sandbagging in Silverstone. The car in Silverstone was most definitely a boat. It had the turning radius of a. It had the turning radius of that ship that crashed in the Suez Canal and then stuck. I don't know what it was called. The Evergreen, I think. Yeah, it's got a turning radius that big. The Verstappen's car in like free practice at Silverstone. It was really undrivable. We'll get some more onboards of Verstappen and we'll see what was going on there. Adrian Newey versus McLaren. Well, Adrian Newey hasn't been working on this car as well. That's the thing. Aston Martin brought a minor tweak to their car this weekend. A tiny little change to the front wing, I think, just to give them a little bit more downforce through this circuit. And they would have brought a similar upgrade in Singapore probably, but it's just it's a circuit specific thing. It's not a performance upgrade that Adrian Newey's designed or anything like that. Adrian Newey is solely working on the 2026 car, but somehow we've got the Astons up in 4th and 5th now. Leclerc just improves, goes up into 3rd place there, and he's 4/10 back from Lando Norris. Small tweak equals straw poll. Maybe. Evergiven. Oh, okay. Evergiven was the name of the ship. Evergreen. Okay. Regardless, yeah, like it had a really bad. It just had so little grip back in Silverstone. Behrman up into 11th as well. Nice job from Behrman on a used set of soft tyres as well. So maybe on a fresh set, it would have been even further up. Okay. F1 game, is this the type of circuit low downforce or more? You need a lot of downforce here in Hungary. A lot of downforce. The teams are running pretty close to their Monaco package. They're not running the full Monaco package, but they are not that far off. Yeah. Oh, we got Norris. I think he had a little bit of traffic on his flight. Oh, no, not traffic. Norris clipped. We've seen this happen before actually. If you're just watching the onboard there, Norris clips the grass on the exit into the final corner. So let me show you. All right, here we go. Okay, so you're going towards the final corner here. You come over to the left-hand side to get as much grip as you possibly can, but to widen out the corner, as you possibly can. But you're sort of entering this corner at an angle. You're sort of turning left already. So let's rewind here. So you're going through turns number 13 here, and from there you exit and you hold the car leftwards. You're already going towards the left, and Norris misjudged it, dipped his front left wheel onto the grass, and nearly crashed out. Just managed to keep it under control and out of the barriers, but this has ended badly before. I think Alex Albon has crashed there in the exact same manner. Might have been during his time at Red Bull. I can't remember for the life of me, but I've definitely seen a crash like that before at that exact corner. If anyone in the chat can remember, be sure to let me know. Okay. All right, 18 minutes left of the session, and we have got, what's it, 6 cars out on track, 5 cars now, Behrman's into the pits. Okay. What's wrong with Max's car? I could probably say everything, and it would be pretty accurate. I don't really know, but basically what they're going to do, they're going to do a lot of work overnight. Whoever the test driver is going to be sat in the simulator to try and figure out what to do and what to change to make the car a little bit faster. F1 Gamer, if you insist on saying Carla Pinto, I don't know if I said Carla Pinto. Maybe I did, but Franco Colapinto is down in 20th position, 1.5 tenths back. Not ideal. F1 Gamer merch is coming at the end of the summer break, right? Yes, that is the plan. So the what's it? Oh, this is the other thing, folks. You guys here actually have the power to decide what the merch is going to be. I'm going to ask you whether you want hoodies or sort of jumpers or sweatshirts, because I'm not 100% sure. You know, if the poll is like, let's say 60-40 or something, then I'll probably just do both. But if it's a big swing into either direction, then I'll just do one. But yeah, do let me know. And yeah, there's just a vote there. But yeah, the merch should be coming. You know, first race back. The first race back, I think, is the Dutch Grand Prix, and that's when the merch will be ready. So, yeah. All right. Currently, though, we have got most drivers come back into the pits after their quali runs, and looking at the quali runs here, clear to see the McLarens are the fastest. Am I surprised? Not really. Then we have Charles Leclerc in third. Somehow the Aston Martins are up in fourth and fifth position, and this is pure pace by the looks of it. You know, sometimes Aston Martin do have a habit of sort of overestimating or not overestimating, sort of just like showing off their car performance a little bit too much, while they'll reduce the fuel too much. They'll turn up the engine modes ever so slightly more than they should, which sort of makes them look good in practice, but then once it gets to quali, they get knocked out in Q1 or Q2. So it might be one of those occasions, but I can't tell you for certain. And then we've got Hamilton in 6th, Russell in 7th, Hadjar in 8th. Still amazing performance from him. Look at the gap between himself and his teammate, 3/10 of a second. So really, really good job from Isaac Hadjar. Tsunoda in 9th, still improving ahead of Max Verstappen for the first time, I'd say, in a long time. And then we have got Antonelli in 10th, Behrman 11th, Hulkenberg 12th, Ocon 13th, Verstappen 14th, Lawson 15th, Sainz 16th, Bortoletto 17th, Albon 18th, Gasly 19th, and Colapinto 20th. Alpine's 19th and 20th, not ideal from them. The team's gatekeeping the speed, or Aston Martin's actually doing good. I'm sure it's a mix of both. I don't think it's Aston Martin's doing both. I think it's sorry, I don't know what I just said. I think Aston Martin are sort of showing off their pace a little bit too much. I'm not sure about other teams slowing down on purpose. The other teams are probably just doing their normal thing. Aston Martin occasionally just tend to turn up their engine modes and reduce the fuel loads, just to make some heads turn during free practice. So I wouldn't read into it too much. Let's wait out till quality rolls around tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. All right. Looks like we've got 73% of people want hoodies and 27% of people want sweatshirts or jumpers. To be fair, I used to prefer hoodies. Right now, currently, I wear sweatshirts and jumpers. Maybe I'll do both. But definitely, if I'm going to do one first, it'll be hoodies. But thanks for all your votes, folks. All right, 15 minutes left of the session, and as you can see, the drivers coming out on the medium tyres that they were doing long runs on earlier in the day. Hamilton, however, is out on a used set of soft tyres, so I don't know, maybe he's doing some more long runs, or maybe he's doing some short runs. And apart from that, we have got the Williams in 16th and 18th. Yeah, Williams tend to do well at high-speed circuits. They haven't been doing that well, really, at Spa or anything like that. But, yeah, Spa or Silverstone weren't really outstanding performances for the Williams teams. And here they come to Hungary, which is a circuit that they knew they were going to be bad at. And yeah, here they are in 16th and 18th. Not ideal, but what can you really do, to be honest? Then we have Bortoletto 17th, Hulkenberg in 12th. The gap between those two drivers, 3/10 of a second, to be sort of expected. And yeah, not too shabby, really, from Nico Hulkenberg. Yeah, folks, be sure to hit the like button as well. I think I forgot to mention this. But yeah, be sure to hit the like button. Hopefully you can hit 1,000 likes or so. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button as well, be sure to do that. I think if we hit 1,600 and 1,086,000... I can't even talk anymore. If we get like 70 or 80 more subscribers, we will hit the same number of subscribers gained that the channel gained in 2024. I'm sure most of you guys really don't care, but it's kind of mind blowing, really. Like, in the whole of 2024, I think we gained 60,000 subscribers or something, 61,000 subscribers. If we gain another 70, 80 subscribers, that would be the same number of subscribers gained, but only in 14 races rather than 24 races. So yeah, channel's been doing quite nicely. And yeah, it's big thanks to you guys. Everyone that has been hitting the like button and the reminder button especially has done wonders for the channel algorithm. You know, even if you have notifications turned off on YouTube, but you still press the reminder button, still helps out the algorithm wildly. And yeah, really is appreciated, everyone. Road to 200k, indeed. I mean, I'd like to think we'd hit 200k by the end of the season, probably in the next couple of races or so. But we have got a 1 month summer break in between. All right. What else is really going on here? We've got Behrman out on softs, Hamilton out on softs. Alonso sat in the pits. Not sure what's going on there with Alonso. Maybe he's still starting to feel some back pain, but he's the only driver that isn't currently out on track. Everyone else is out on track. And yeah, Gasly as well is just coming out the pits. So we'll keep an eye out on Fernando Alonso. Why is everyone setting yellow sectors? It's because they're out on really used tyres. They set their best lap times here that you can see in this third column. They set them on fresh sets of softs, and now they're out on mediums and hards with a bunch of fuel in their car. So that's why their lap times are a lot slower. Hi, Cave Dave. Thanks for joining the channel membership. Really is appreciated. Yeah, thanks for helping out the channel, buddy. F1 Gamer, do you have a job open? I'd love to apply. No, it's I'm most definitely a one-man band. The channel's not big enough for a second person just yet. Oh, Charles Leclerc deploying Plan C as well, all over that gravel trap. Good to see. Yeah, now we've had a bit of time for the Formula One movie to sort of settle in. Let me know what do you guys think of the Formula One movie. I would definitely rate it a solid, probably 8 out of 10. Really, there were definitely some things that could have been better, some things that could have been slightly less cringy, but overall, I enjoyed watching the film. It's definitely not going at a top 10 movies list, but I think it's done really well in the box office as well. I think it's generated like 500 million, which is wild. We've got loads of new fans that have also tuned into the sport or are getting into the sport because of the movie, and then, they'll watch the movie, then they'll watch Drive to Survive, and then they'll start watching some races. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's a really nice experience in the cinemas. If you don't want to go watch in the cinema, you can always wait and watch it on Apple TV Plus or whatever website you want to watch it on. I'm not any stranger to just doing 1, 2, 3 movies at the end of whichever movies I want to watch. But yeah, quite enjoyable, to be honest. Not F1 accurate, but definitely a fun ride. Yeah, I mean, we can just design a car for combat, and someone works, like 2 people work some late nights, and then within the space of a week, you've got a completely new car design, and it works perfectly. It's an interesting choice, but that's really Hollywood for you, isn't it? A very dramatized T-shirt for merch. Oh yeah, I'll be doing T-shirts as well. So it'll be T-shirts and hoodies by the looks of it, and then maybe some sweatshirts as well. For maybe the best-selling hoodies, I'll add in some sweatshirts for the people that are interested. Yeah, great popcorn movie. That is a pretty good description, actually. Thanks for that comment. Okay. What is Stroll doing in P4 and Franz Hermann in P14? I just came. Well, firstly, I appreciate it if you don't spam. Secondly, yeah, Stroll and Alonso, both great laps from them. The Astons have got some very nice pace today, and I don't know if that's going to last till tomorrow, but as of right now, their pace looks good. And then Franz Hermann's just struggling, really. I don't know what it is. We haven't heard him complaining too much over the radio, but his lap times are 22.6 on a set of medium tyres. We're seeing Piastri do 22. We're seeing Norris do a 22.3 on medium tyres, but of course the fuel loads will be different, so you can't really compare. But the thing is, Isaac Hadjar and Max Verstappen are doing the exact same lap times in a practice session on their long run, so I don't really know what's going on. F1 game, what's your favourite track? Interlagos. Interlagos, for sure. Interlagos or Suzuka. Verstappen, he's come over the radio to complain now. Just as I've said, I don't know what's going on. It's just undrivable. I can't get any balance. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, it's yeah, not great for Max Verstappen. No balance in the car, and the test driver's going to have a long night in the simulator, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure Verstappen will be doing some time in the simulator as well, just so he can also get a bit more of an accurate feel and he can give his input. But yeah, the Red Bull test driver, who I'm not sure who it is. If anyone knows who the Red Bull test driver is, do let me know. They may be using one of their rookie drivers, people that are part of the Red Bull Driver Academy. Give them more sort of time with the engineers to communicate, understand the differences in setup. Because, not only as a driver is your job to be quick on the track, your job is to communicate what the car is doing to the engineers, telling the engineers what you want from the car, what you think the setup changes might work to help you out. So getting the junior drivers to sort of work in these in a test driver role really does help out their experience and knowledge, and makes them a really complete driver. Max lives racing, maybe in The Sims. Yeah, maybe he's just. They tell Max, the cars are cold, Max, just try to keep pushing. What? Max Verstappen is driving 1 minute 22 lap times on a set of medium tyres. Track temperature is 36 degrees. Oh my goodness me. It is like the lowest temperatures we've seen at the Hungaroring in a very long time. And the medium tyres are too cold. When was the last time you heard anyone say the tyres are too cold? I mean, I cannot remember. And I've been commentating races for a long time, and I really don't know. Also, there's a helicopter hovering at the end of turn number 1, and to be honest with you, because the cars generate so much grip via aerodynamics, I think having a helicopter sort of hovering on top of the turn number 1 would actually give the drivers a lot more grip. Yeah. Why is Hamilton wasting his soft tyres? He's not. He did some quali sims on them, and he's using the same soft tyres. And the thing is, because track temperatures are so low, now we're sort of dropped out of the medium tyre range, and we're getting towards the soft tyre range. That's why you see Bam, and that's why you see Alonso out on the mediums, which is very rare to see. But when track temperatures are 35 degrees Celsius, that's when the soft tyres start becoming more usable than the mediums. Bono Bronk, F1 Gamer. I've been running a fashion business. You will sell most t-shirts, then hoodies or zip-up hoodies in black. Other colors will sell like 1/4 of that. Well, thank you very much for the advice. I'm definitely going to have black as the main color. It'll be black t-shirts and then white t-shirts, obviously. And I'll start off with that. And of course, if there are loads of sales in a certain design or something like that, and if you guys have some requests, I can always change stuff. But yeah, if any of you guys have experience in sort of the fashion business or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, F1_gamer_5. And I'd be happy to take your advice, talk to you guys, understand a little bit more about the fashion industry, because to be honest, I'm very much new to it. So be sure to let me know. All right, Isaac Hadjar is dealing with some traffic here that's what he's been told over the radio, and as you can see, he's got George Russell up ahead as traffic, and we'll see how his pace behind George Russell is. He's going to be stuck behind George Russell for a little bit. They're both in 7th and 8th, and they're both next to each other on the circuit as well. So yeah, the pace is pretty similar. And Russell is doing really slow lap times. I don't know if that was a mistake from Russell or what, but oh no, through the first sector, they're pretty much identical, and Hadjar's struggling here in the dirty air. Pretty similar to what we're going to see. Lap times only matter in quality in the race, not practice. That's true, but of course you can always get a little bit of information, a little bit of feeling of the tyre degradation, and which team looks to be the fastest. So, yeah. Because you can have a look at which drivers' lap times are dropping off really quickly. So let's say, for example, Stroll and Alonso have really good quali times, but their tyres wear out super fast. So you can see their lap times slowly progress from 1 minute 21s to 1 minute 22s to 1 minute 23s, and then you can get a feel, Astons are quick in quali, but their tyres are going to wear out super fast in the race, so they're going to have to do a 3-stop if they're going to make it to the end. So that's sort of what you can infer, but you do have to do a lot of analysis into the data, which is sort of beyond the scope of the stream as well. So I'll do some overnight, and I'll let you know what I find out on for the start of the FP3 stream and quali as well. Okay, we've got 7,000 people tuned into the live stream. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Very much is appreciated. Hope to see you all for quali tomorrow. And FP3 as well. We'll be getting more quali sims in FP3, and we'll also obviously be getting quali sims in quali because, well, it's qualifying. Yeah, what do the 3 columns in the end mean? So essentially, as you already probably know, the track here is split into 3 different sectors, sector 1, 2, and 3, and then what they do between each sector, the sector gets split into even smaller sectors, mini sectors or segments, whatever you want to call them, and these yellow rectangles sort of represent the drivers driving through each little bit of the circuit, and if they're yellow, then that indicates they're going slower than the personal best. If they're green, then it indicates they're going quicker than the personal best. If it's purple, it indicates they're going fastest out of every single driver on the track. So it's sort of giving you a little bit more detailed information compared to just this sector 1, 2, and 3. It gives you much more in-depth stuff. So, going through the start-finish straight here, let's say if Russell was purple, then you would see, if Russell had a load of top speed, he would be purple in the first 2 rectangles, and then once he got to the corner, it'd probably be yellow because he's slower than everyone else because he's got not a lot of downforce. So that's sort of the purpose of that. Yeah. Okay, and yeah, we are now 1 minute and 20 seconds away, and nobody's really doing any quali sims, as you can see. We have got Hadjar coming out on some softs here, Bortoletto also out on some softs, and they're coming out on soft tyres just to get their clutch settings ready, in case they have to start the race on Sunday on soft tyres, because, your clutch settings have to be separate for different grip levels, different temperatures, and all of that stuff, so that's why the teams are going to come out. Some, they did their practice starts maybe on mediums in FP1, and now it's going to be the softs in FP2. Oh yeah, we've got a visor tear off sat there on the exit of turn number 3. That's from Max Verstappen. He threw a visor tear off onto the side of the track, and that's now just deposited. Or maybe that's a plastic bag. Is that plastic bag or a visor tear off? I'm not sure. But either way, yeah, Verstappen threw something onto the side of the track, and he's going to be investigated after the session for that. Okay. F1 Gamer, I'll be here at the race, not in quali because my passport just pulled Orlando. Fair enough. Thanks, Carlos Science 55. Hope to see you around for the race. You'll be giving us some tyre information as well. Oh, sorry, not tyre information, weather information, because looks like we have some potential rain on for Sunday. Okay, so folks there, I've just put a link to the quali stream in the chat, so go ahead and check that out if you're interested in watching directly into quali, and if I end the stream now, I'll take you over to FP3, so go ahead and press the reminder button, the like button on either quali stream or the FP3 stream. Really does help out the channel, as I said earlier. If you're interested in getting Surfshark VPN, there's a link in the description. You can watch Formula 1 for only $2 a month. You get the VPN, you connect to Austria, you go onto Google, search Service TV, you can watch for free via Service TV. The only thing you have to pay for, Surfshark VPN. You can always get a refund if it doesn't work, so go ahead and check it out. But first driver to take the checkered flag, Liam Lawson, and that is all from me, really. Nobody's setting any quick lap times. As you can see, the whole screen is all yellow, and that is the end of free practice 2, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be having free practice 3 tomorrow and quali as well, so look forward to seeing you all then. Have a wonderful morning, evening, or night, depending on where you are in the world, and look forward to seeing you for a very, very exciting quali. I think Leclerc, potentially Stroll and Alonso could be up there, so I guess we'll wait and see. Alright, bye-bye, folks. Bye-bye.